Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Benchmade Proper. This is a slip joint, and I know this has been reviewed by a couple people so far, and it's not a new knife, but this is actually a knife that I've had for about a year and a half. I think about a year and a half. And the truth is I really didn't give it a chance for a while, and now that I have given it a chance, I want to share that with you. So let's go ahead and start out with a size comparison. Here's the Benchmade 940 and the Benchmade Bugout. So you can see it's not a huge knife. The handle's actually pretty small, especially when you bring the Bugout into consideration, but the cutting edge really isn't that far off from the Bugout for a slip joint, which is nice. We've got the Benchmade Griptilian and Spyderco Para 3 and the Paramilitary 2. And so again, the cutting edge on the Proper is close, if maybe not even a little bit longer than the Para 3. So it's actually a pretty decent size. And again, the handle's much shorter. Let's take a look at it against some slip joints. This is the GEC oil field jack. And this is the Rough Rider teardrop shape. Okay, I think that's enough size comparisons. Well, let's do one more actually. Here's a Rough Rider Trapper. Just to show you it's a little bit smaller than Trapper. Okay, so the Proper. So let's talk about this. This is a slip joint. I mean, it's a non-locking knife, so obviously it doesn't lock. This is one of the first productions. The number on here, what is that? 343 of 1200, so they had 1200 in the first productions. S30V blade, which is excellent, an excellent steel actually for a modern slip joint. I have no complaints about that whatsoever. S30V is not, you're not going to have, you don't have the same chipping worries and everything else, although I really haven't had any problems with chipping for the most part with, I shouldn't say for the most part, really at all. With my knives, I don't know. I know some people complain about S30V and chipping, but on a slip joint, you're really not going to be hard using it because it's non-locking. You don't want to have to close on your finger. So S30V is an excellent choice for that. The micarta on here feels excellent. If I had to equate it to another micarta, it feels a lot like the GEC micarta on their knives. And just to give you an idea of what different micarta feels like, the micarta on the Cru-Wear Shaman is much rougher and much more matte, and then let's see, the Cru-Wear, I'm sorry, not Cru-Wear, the micarta on the TRM Atom is, I would say, also a little bit more matte than the Proper. So the Proper is a little bit polished, but still a little bit matte, and really strikes a good balance in between the two. And you can see it's obviously been impregnated by the oils from my hands from use, and this has pretty much been in my pocket every day as a backup knife for, I would say, the last 3 months. So I've really had extensive use with this, and I can say it's quite nice. So what do I like about this knife? So like I said, the steel on this is S30V. The steel is excellent. The build wording on here is fine. It's not too much of an issue. The amount protruding here, which gives you the pull. So on slip joints, one of the issues that you have with slip joints sometimes is it's hard to get the blade out. So, the blade's polished on here. I have to actually use the nail neck and get my nail in there in order to get this out. So with the Benchmade Proper, you can actually pinch the blade on both ends and get it out and then just pull. And it's it's a much easier way to get the blade out, and quite nice that they really thought that design through. The other thing is that a lot of what's great about it is a lot of these knives are pin construction. You see, these are pins; these are not screws. There is no taking this knife apart. So if you're, or at least not if you're not without specialized equipment. So pin construction, once it's together, it's pretty much together. And a lot of, knives, this is also pin construction. A lot of slip joints have traditionally been pin construction. Here you have the show side is mimicking the pin construction. It's like the back of a Chicago screw, but you've got Torx on the what would normally be the clip side. And that means that this can be taken apart, no problem. It can be cleaned, and you can switch the scales. There are aftermarket scales for this, which is another great thing. So yeah, I mean, that's amazing. It's really bringing slip joints into the modern era. What else do I like about this? So this is something that's probably a good and a bad. So one of the things I enjoy most about the GEC, and what a lot of people love, is what's called walk and talk, which is the, when you open it, you hear those snaps, and it's because there's much more tension on the spring behind the blade that keeps it from opening, and it takes a much more force from me pulling in order to pull that blade out, and then again after the half stop. Now they do have a half stop on this, as you see, and you can see that here. See, half stop. And so you may be wondering, well, why does this one not have the same walk and talk that this one has? And is it because of price? Because this is $100. Well, this is also $100. And not only that, but the Rough Rider also has pretty decent walk and talk. Not as good as the GEC, but it's something to. So why doesn't the Benchmade? Well, and I'll go into a separate video with this another time, but it really has to do, if you can look at the back, you really have to know how a slip joint works. And I'm going to do a knife noob video on this, I think, on how slip joints work exactly. But basically, you have these two back hold a metal piece in right here. These two pins, or screws, I should say, hold in a metal piece right here, and it's held into place. When this is closed, it pushes it up. You can see it barely up right here. You can't really see a lot of it, but you can see it'll creep up. You see that? See that metal creeping up? So it pushes it up, and so it's not actually like a normal spring as you would think of a spring, but because you've got that that metal, you're basically bending it up. It doesn't want to bend up, so it's putting tension against it, and that's how the spring works. So why is this one less springy than this one? That has to actually do, I believe, with the blade design here. So the back of the blade, if you look at it, it's rounded in some places. Okay, I don't know if you can see. Is it showing up in here? See how it has rounding in some places? Well, on the GEC, you can see in there, it's perfectly square. And so those corners on the perfectly square are forcing this up a lot more, and they're creating even more tension, creating that walk and talk than the Benchmade proper. All right, so so without the walk and talk, without really like high tension walk and talk, why is it good and why is it bad? So it's bad because it's really satisfying. Walk and talk is a really satisfying thing to have on a slip joint, but it's good because it makes it easier to just, open and close one-handed. There are times where I'm dealing with something, I can even push it open like that with one hand. And then, you know, if I find a place that isn't too sharp on the back, I can even push the blade up like that. And, you know, I've got calluses on my fingers, so don't try that at home if you're not sure. But, you know, so this can turn it into a one-handed knife. So I think that's a plus for me. Even though I think for a lot of people, it would not necessarily be a plus. And by the way, this is still sharp. It's going to get, you know, it's not hair popping sharp, but it's still sharp. I probably could use a strop in case you're wondering, because I have my finger underneath the blade. Again, don't try that at home. And I'll also say the ergonomics on this are pretty good. In this pull motion, they're perfect. Really, really perfect. I mean, your hand, it goes in, you've got this nice curve on the back. The ergonomics are just perfect right here. And so when you cut an apple or do a little bit of whittling or something, you're excellent. In this grip, they're okay. And the reason I say that is when I think about it, it feels a little uncomfortable because, you know, it forces your finger up here and my fingers are scrunched together. But when I actually use it, I don't even notice where my hand's falling. My pinky goes here, and for whatever reason, I mean, on most knives that would really bother me, but I don't even feel it here. I'm not sure why that is, but it is. And I recently, you know, gave a big demerit, so to speak, to another knife for handle ergonomics that didn't quite fit my hand. Well, this one sort of is like that as well, but honestly, like I said, I just don't feel it when it's in hand. So good on you, Benchmade, for working that out. But I am just going to mark that as a negative because it doesn't quite fit. But other than that, the only other real negative I have is, you know, I'm not sure about this choice to do a saber grind in the blade. You know, you can see on normal pocket knives here, so the blade stock here is a little thicker than you would see on a lot of normal, you can see it. It's a little thicker than you see on a lot of normal slip joints. But the other thing is that, so it's a little thicker behind the edge, but the other thing is that these are full flat ground, and this is a saber grind, and it's not that tall of a saber grind. So that means it's thicker behind the edge than it needs to be. So when you use this to cut an apple, it's going to start prying the apple apart, and you do get some splitting. So it's just something to be aware of, whereas this one, you can go through the apple and you just get a nice clean slice all the way through. So that's another, I guess, knock on it, but it is an attractive blade and it serves its purpose. I think it would just be better served with slightly thinner stock and maybe a full flat grind. But that's pretty much it. If you have a Benchmade proper, let me know which one you have in the comments. You know, do you like the carbon fiber? Oh, I should mention it does come in a couple different variations as carbon fiber. There's carbon fiber. There is a blue scale one, blue G10 with a black blade, and I believe there was a gold class as well, and a couple others. One other thing of note is just the fit and finish on this is good, but not great. The fit and finish on the GEC is pretty much perfect, but the Benchmade one, or the Benchmade proper, you know, does have some fit issues. I think you can see right there, the back spring sticks up a little bit, and so that's really kind of a fit issue. But this is their first attempt at making a slip joint, so can't knock them too much. Again, leave a comment. Let me know what you think of the proper, if you hold it as in as high a regard as I do. If you're going to buy a slip joint, I would definitely recommend, definitely if you're buying for non-knife people, they're gonna love this, because, you know, sometimes people can get annoyed with the walk and talk if it's too high in the tension. If you're buying it for yourself, I would definitely recommend I mean, I do like the oil field jack as a knife better than this, but I'm going to be honest, I carry this way more than I carry that. So just some food for thought. Till next time, guys, hit the subscribe, hit the like button, hit that notification bell so you get all the videos, and drop that comment. Thanks so much for watching.